Hi, this is Jonathan with Technically Speaking at Source Allies. Today we're going to talk about getting started building MCP tools. If after watching this video you want to learn more, modelcontextprotocol.io is a great site that has a lot of resources to help you get started. But today we'll be diving right into building, running, inspecting, and using a working MCP tool. I'll be using Claude as the client for this example, so I'm going to start out by showing you how to check which MCP tools are connected. So we're going to go to Settings, look in Developer, it should be not configured yet. Connectors, I just have one disconnected and it's for GitHub. So we're going to go ahead and create a new custom MCP tool. Here we go, I'm using a fairly minimal project here made for this demo. Get back up to the top, here are the assumptions I've made for this. I'm going to go ahead and set up the virtual environment. So this is just setting up a Python virtual environment, activating it, and then installing the requirements. In this case, the requirements are just the MCP CLI. So, like I said, a very simple project. Let's see, what did I do? Looks like I hit backspace instead of enter. Not backspace, backslash. Shouldn't be a problem. So now that we have got the install working, we're now in a virtual environment. We can see the .v and v. If I wanted to test this out, I could say MCP dev server pi, and that's just the name of my fast MCP demo here. So that will launch into localhost. I can go ahead and connect. If I go to my tools, list tools, these are the commands that I have. So go ahead and roll. Say number of sides. This is just a simple dice roller. You can give it any number of sides. Go ahead and run that. You can see the results there. Now, this tool can be fairly helpful if you are trying to debug something. If you have an error, you can see all the different responses from your MCP tool. If you go ahead and go back to VS Code, go ahead and stop that. We'll probably come back and look at this in a little more detail, but the short of it is we're using FastMCP. Has the annotation to define it as an MCP tool. We give a description so that the LM understands when to use this tool, and then it has the function itself. What parameters you pass in would be the same as any other function call. But there's a few things we need to do to connect this to Claude Desktop. So I'm going to copy this file path here. If I open that up, go back over here. So this is our MCP demo. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this part of it. Go back to the file we opened, and so in here where we have the MCP servers, if I paste that in, we should now have configuration for the MCP demo in Claude. Something to note, anytime you're changing the config for this, have to close and reopen Claude. So I'm going to close that, reopen it. My understanding is that it only checks the config on open. So now if we do settings, when we go to the developer, we can now see the MCP demo that we added to the config. We look at the connectors, and we can see our we can see our MCP demo here, and we can configure it so you can give it different permissions on. Should always allow that, whereas the role in D6, which is our second one, needs approval. You can change those around. You can also change them in your chat itself. So that's the chat history. I want to make a new chat. In this case, if we want to test this out, if I say something like role, let's say the correct role, 5d4. LM should understand that a d4 is a 4-sided dice, and it has a n-sided die function that I can use. And so What it doesn't have is a way of rolling 5 of them at once, so it's probably going to call it 5 times. Here we see the first roll, second roll. Go through there doing each of the tool calls. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rolls, and it even gave us a total. So it seems to be working. If I were to say something like roll, I'm going to do the same thing, 5, except for this time I'm going to do a d6. And now it should be smart enough to know to use our second call, which it's only for a 6-sided die, but you can roll 5 of them at once, and this is the one that we told it to ask us, so I'm going to say yes, allow once. And there we go. Happens to be the same total. So we can see that it is working as intended. If we go back to our editor, let's say we had a mistake in here. Let's say instead of an int, we tried to have that be a string. Save that. If I can either go and restart Claude again and go through all that, or as we were looking at earlier, we can just start our local MCP dev server. $6d6, or if we want to match it, 5d6 is what we had tested. This time we can see here's the error. You get your error message. You can go through and try to troubleshoot it, figure out what is wrong. In this case, we just made the mistake, so we know exactly what it is. Fix that. Back to our local browser. Go and restart this. Go to our tools. Roll 5 times, run, and there we have our success. Validation error data. Does that carry over from before? Yeah. Okay. So, note to self, sometimes the status does not appear to update correctly, so refreshing is a good idea. This has been Jonathan with Technically Speaking at Source Allies. Do you have a topic you want to see covered? Comment it down below. Check out sourceallies.com to learn more about us. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.